So I'm ready for the next conversation. I think this is going to be an amazing episode. I think a lot of them are, some of them we're feeling things out but others I think are just filled with so many jewels. So I'm ready to go ahead and get this show on the road. Are you?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Nothing to it but to do it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to One Man and One Woman, the podcast. We are here for all of your enjoyment, entertainment, and knowledge. Because we spitting facts, huh?
I am. Can't speak for everybody.
Oh, shots fired. I might need to find me a new co-host. I don't know. So tonight's subject is communication. I think communication is everybody's default answer when you say, what's the most important part of a relationship? Communication. But how often do we really dive into what we mean by that? And more specifically, what we think communication is. So, and I think that when we say communication, we're specifically speaking about effective communication. So, what does that look like to you? What is effective communication to you?
I think in a relationship, especially in relationships between men and women, I think you have to be specific these days. But I think the first part of that is understanding that you don't speak the same language, and that you're going to have to learn how to communicate with the person. You cannot walk in with this idea that I'm a great communicator and I'm good at expressing myself. You may be very good at expressing yourself on paper or amongst your friends or to other people who think like but how good are you at adjusting to a situation where you're around people who don't think like you, who don't speak the same language that you do, who don't hear words the same way that you do? How patient and how willing are you to accept that your rules are not the universal rules? That you may have to adapt to somebody else's. You might have to trade some rules with people. The way you hear things are not the way they hear things. You guys may have to compromise. How willing are you to go in and say, I'm going to relearn how to talk? Because the way that I talk to this person has to be specific to them.
So, effective communication to you is
Willingness to learn.
willingness to learn. Okay. Um, I will agree with you there, as that there have been really just three people in my life who have made me take a look at myself and change some things in the way that I communicate. Four people, because of course my first therapist was phenomenal. I cannot, leave Mike out of there. But um I've had, a best friend make me want to change the way that I spoke to him as a human being, as an adult, as a grown man. I was always so triggered and always so angry, and it wasn't something he was willing to put up with. And I have a friend who's much, much older than me. He's 89 years old. Shout out to Jim. And he's very Republican and very, very different from me. And so I had to learn how to communicate with him in a way as to not get angry with him for some of the stuff he said, and realize the huge age difference and life experiences, and instead allow myself to be a constant, continuous stream of teachable moments for him. And now he understands a little bit about the Black experience, which I don't think he ever in life would have. And I'm not talking about what it feels like to be that, but in him learning about the things that I've been through, opening his eyes to see and understand why some of the stuff he used to say and think just isn't cool. And he impresses me every single time we talk with some of the work he puts in to try to figure out, what life is like for me. Being an older white man trying to figure out what it's like to be a much younger Black woman. Even though you know you'll never be able to grasp it fully, I appreciate the effort. And then in my current relationship, my I talk about this dude all the time, and I'm really, really tired of talking about him, to be honest. The people around me are tired of me talking about him. I'm not trying to be mushy, but when you have someone who is vastly different from you, like you guys just think differently, you're from different places, you didn't grow up the same way, different backgrounds, all of that good stuff, but you're drawn together in a way that you cannot deny. For me to make it work, I knew that there were things about me I was going to have to change. And I see him putting in the work, not as much as I do, but putting in the work as well because he's very set in his ways. However, our communication is some stuff I've never experienced before in my life. And it's interesting. It's very frustrating sometimes because sometimes it feels like, Jesus, I need to change every single thing about me just for him to understand this one thing. And then I have to remember that it's not necessarily that he's asking me to change who I am, but more how I communicate who I am and how I feel. And so it's been a learning experience that has been very hard. It's still very hard because I am still who I am through, and so is he. But I think when you finally meet somebody who is able to communicate and teach you how to communicate, because I thought I was a great communicator, but yeah, I yelled and cursed everybody out. So I don't really know how effective that was being. And now I can sit back and think things through, look at them from more than just my perspective, and try to approach them in a manner that's open minded. I'm listening to understand more than listening to respond. And he said one of the most brilliant things to me on the planet after like we got into an argument. I don't even remember what it was about, but he was like, if ever I say something to you, I want you to always remember that it's never coming from a malicious place. So if it feels like I was attacking you or I was coming at you, sideways, the first thing I want you to think is he loves me. He cherishes the duty of honoring me, and therefore however I just took this that made me feel this way, that can't be it. So let me calm down, let me reel it in, and let me ask for clarification instead of running off to the races with all the negativity and anger that I can muster. And to me, that's a person not leaving you room to be left in the dark or to be confused. They're giving you the right and the opportunity and opening up that door and saying, always come and ask me for clarification when you feel like you didn't like what I said or it hurt you or it made you angry. And so to me, that's effective communication. Making a safe space, a safe place in its entirety for the person that you want to communicate with to understand that this is what we're doing here. We're here about building and growing, not turning each other down, not being negative. Even when you're frustrated with me, come and talk to me. That is the epitome of effective communication.
I agree. I agree. And yeah, I don't know. I heard something once about communication, and I think I've had tried to have this conversation with other people before, and they don't quite agree. But I do wholeheartedly agree with this concept that um, if you're delivering a message, it is your responsibility as the messenger to make sure that you are delivering a message in a way that the receiver can understand it. It is not on the receiver to understand you correctly. It is on you to cater your message to your audience. And I think like a lot of times, especially in relationships, we get into this, I know what I said, or I know I said I loved you, or I told you this. If you're not delivering that message in a way that the person can understand it, then you didn't deliver the message. It doesn't matter that you said whatever that you said, or that you believe that you said it in a way that wasn't confusing. Um, it was confused. So now, if you want to get that message across, it's on you to figure out
So
how
I
to
have a
do that.
question for you with that. What if the person that you're communicating with does not let you know at all that they are confused, that they didn't get that message, and you feel like you delivered this amazing message, whether good or bad? You feel like you are very thorough in that, and this person just sits there straight face, they listen, and then you guys go your separate ways, like they go to work and you go to sleep, or what have you. What if you were never told, if it was never communicated with you, that they didn't understand what you meant, or better yet, maybe they took from it what they wanted to and didn't give you any inkling that they didn't understand clearly what you meant? How is it on the person who delivered the message to make sure that the message is received clearly if the other person isn't giving them anything to work with, like a way to think that they did or didn't deliver the message correctly?
I mean, again, at some point like this, it'd be a moot point if nothing ever came up. If I said something, you didn't understand it the way that I intended it, and there was no consequence to that, then there would be no way to ever have that conversation. But at some point, it's going to become um, maybe not clear, but then you're going to get an inkling through actions, through the way somebody responds to something, that maybe what you think you told them or what you think they understand, they don't understand. And in that moment, I think it's on you to say, hey, how do you, how do you think I feel about you? Or how do you think I feel about this? Or, do you know how much I love you? Do you know how important you are to me? Like sometimes I'm getting from your actions, I'm getting that you may not understand something that I think I've expressed to you. So let me go seek clarification. Are you acting this way and that, I would never do something like that to you? Or are you acting this way because you feel like I might have? And I don't know that. So then, let's go recraft this message again. Let me say it again in a different way that maybe you will understand. And sometimes you're going to get to a point where we just don't, our languages are too different. I think that's the other thing that we gotta like stop doing. Like there's no perfect way to execute a relationship that there's no possibility of failure. You can do everything right and it's just not the person for you. So you can do all the great communication and not giving people room to misunderstand you and asking the right questions, and y'all just might not speak the same language, and then it's okay to move on. But it's not like a failure in some part, like you just didn't do it right. If you had just communicated this one time a little bit different, then maybe things would have turned out different. I know sometimes it just don't work out.
I
It is what
actually
it
do
is.
not subscribe to the thought process that men and women speak a different language. I actually think that when we say things like that, we're further helping to, keep us divided. We speak the same language. We just don't listen. And I think that is when you put in that work and that effort with communication. We speak the same language. We are human beings. We want love, we want respect, we want loyalty, and all those other things that we want. But do we know how to effectively communicate that? It's not that we don't speak the same language. We absolutely do. It's just that too many of us are not listening because we're too busy talking at the same time to tell you what we need. We're not opening ourselves up to understand and listen to what you need. And that's the problem. We are so busy listening to respond, or not listening at all and just responding and causing confusion. Like we hear all the time when a man will say something and a woman will say, well, what I heard you say was, I'm the queen of that. I do it all the time. And I know this. He still was speaking the same exact language I do. I just decided to remix it and interpret it. Well, I think we create our own languages. That's what we do. You say something to me in the same language that we speak, and then I turn it into some other language and mess it up, or vice versa. The men do that too. But I think that fundamentally we all are the same. We want very similar things. Those of us who are sane and should be entertaining relationships. I can't speak about people who want to be for the streets, men or women. If you want to be for the streets, I am not talking to you. I'm talking to people who actually want to have a good relationship. So, regarding communication, in terms of what we've just given as definitions, how important do you think, like what percentage of importance is there on effective communication being a part of your relationship in order for that relationship to have the best chance at being successful?
I mean, I did what's the highest you can go, whatever the maximum is. Everything hinges upon it. You want a great sex life, you're gonna have to be able to communicate with your partner what you like and what you don't like. You're gonna have to be able to get to that unspoken level of communication where my look at you from across the room lets you know exactly what it is I want to do. Like I'm communicating with you that way. But if you can't do those things, like there's always going to be some distance there. You're going to need that person to be able to pick up on the cues to know when you're down, when it's one of them days where you only got 75% to give and you might need them to help you cover on the 25. You might need them to be able to see that in you, you know, and get that, receive that message from you without you having the words to express it. I think communication is as important, if not more important, than any other aspect. I mean, sex sometimes is a form of communication. Sex sometimes is, I need to tell you something that I don't have the words for right now. I need you to know exactly how I feel about you in this moment, and I ain't got the words for it. So I'm gonna express it to you this way. It's all communication to me. So I think it's very, that there's whatever the highest level of importance you can give it. Let's go with that. But I do think, again, like when we were talking about the different languages, and I did, like, I'm not making this a debate, but what came to mind was having a conversation with the lady I'm in a relationship with now. And I think I said something, and like her response was like, "That's wild," and I think to her what she said was, "That's interesting and different than anything I've heard." To me, what I heard was, "That's crazy and nonsensical. Why would you say something like that?" So it's like, it's the same words, but in my language they mean this, and in your language they mean this. And if I just interpret them that way because you're using a word that I'm familiar with, we could have gone down a plate, and we did a little bit. We did go down
Well, you know what?
a
That's how
little
the
bit.
English language is, though. We use the same one word and it has 27 definitions. So, again, it's still the same language. It's just which definition did you choose to attach to it? Like, and did you take the time? I'm going to tell you, you need to incorporate this into your relationship too. Make sure that when you think you hear something that comes across and it hurts you or it angers you, that she's coming from a safe place, that you need to reach out and clarify before you catch an attitude and just be like, hey, what did you mean when you said this, so that you guys keep that safe space. I'm just telling you, it works for me. So keeping with communication, I would like to know what for you is the, I want to say genre, but I think like the subject, like what's the hardest subject matter for you to talk about in your current relationship? Like what subject matter is just difficult when it comes to being vulnerable and be open and using all of those super cool, effective communication skills?
Uh, it's the day to day. It's the small talk. Really, it's the small talk
That's the
that's
most difficult.
difficult. That's the most difficult for me. If we talking about something deep or complex, or something that I have an opinion on, or something like that, like that's not a, it's not a real issue. I think most of the arguments that I probably end up in these days derive from small talk, derive from something non-consequential that neither one of us really cares that much about. But because we care that little about it, we just saying stuff. And then sometimes you say a random thing, and then now you defending this random thing that you said because the way the person got mad about how you said it, now you gotta defend it because ain't no way you just going for it. You gonna tell me I'm crazy to my face. I'm gonna be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I am a little crazy. No, now I gotta back this up. The next thing you know, you having a knockdown, drag out argument about something in the back of your mind, and then that's morphed into something else. And now you're not arguing about the dumbass thing that y'all started arguing about. Now you like defending your self respect. When this was not where fuck we like that's, but that's where it can go. Like
That
all of a
is not
sudden, like
effective
now I'm
communication,
defending my man.
sir.
Hey, but so we added, your question
Like,
was, where do I struggle? Your question was, where do I have difficulty? I am explaining exactly where my difficulty is. If you're asking me, so I usually don't like to just formulate an opinion in the moment because I hate like defending something I don't believe. Like I say something, and then now all of a sudden, like that's under
why would
attack.
you defend something you
And it's
don't
like I didn't
believe
even say no.
in? Why would you not just, if the person attacks something that you just randomly said, why does that bother you?
And if you tell them, you know, I didn't, I just randomly pick something, that they mad at you for not taking the conversation seriously. It's like,
Yo, okay, well,
it's
for
weird.
me, because yo, I almost told you your answer was wild. Lord Jesus, I don't want to get in trouble. Hey, listen, no. I mean, that was a very interesting answer, sir.
Being vulnerable and being honest with what's going on with me. And you see how I
But
get
I
toxic?
mean,
It's mm-mm.
okay, so for me, the hardest subject for me to talk about is sex. I think it's still very taboo. At 43 years old, there are just still so many things from my childhood that resonate with me, things I was told that, ladies don't do, and, you know, lots and lots of stuff. So to me, it's like I don't know, I'm super shy in that way still. And I know it sounds crazy because you think if you've slept with this person before, you've been intimate with this person before, I fail to understand why anything will be off limits. But it is different to go through the actions and the motions because that carnal desire is there, or you have this need or desire for each other is one thing, but talking about those things in that arena, like being the girl who's just gonna walk you through and tell you everything I like and everything I desire and everything I need. No, I've never had to do it before. And even when the subject matter comes up, it freaks me out to think, oh, somebody's, when the question is asked, well, when we're doing this, what would you like me to do? Or would you like me to change anything or do anything differently? I almost feel offended. Like, wait, are you saying that I did something or said something or didn't react the way that you thought and you felt the need to come bring this to me? It's like not an innocent question. It makes me wonder what I'm doing wrong to make him think that he needs to be doing something else. It just can't be simple for me. And I think it's just because it just causes me so much anxiety to even talk about. I can talk to my friends, I can talk to family members about certain things, but when it comes to talking to the person that I'm actually sleeping with, it freaks me out.
That is that is interesting. That's very interesting. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like I say, if it's something that I care about or I have strong feelings about, or I mean, sex is definitely if it's the person I'm having sex with. There's always some insecurities and vulnerabilities in there that may be difficult to get over, but and I think a lot of when you were talking, a lot of it is what we do. You know, the question can be very benign. The question is very simple. The question is just when we're doing this, is there something that you want more of? The answer could simply be no. There's nothing I want more of in that situation. But what happens is, like, like you said, like you heard those words, and then paragraphs sprung out of them of the other stuff that could be happening that must have preceded this question, or must have also or be hidden somewhere in the corner of this question. It could just be just that. I just wanted to know in this scenario if there was something that I could do differently that would give you more pleasure, that would make you happier. And if the answer is no, the answer can just be no.
What if
But we do that a lot, men and women. We create these backstories for people and situations that we don't.
we know
You know,
you do that?
I don't
We've
know.
ever
Because
listened
sometimes
to
we got to
your
tone it
podcast. We know you do that.
down. This is why I meditate. It's very important for my sobriety to stay out of other people's heads. That's a dangerous place, people. I'm telling you, people, stay out of other people's heads. It's dangerous. What somebody thinks about you is none of your business.
Oh, boy, I need to adopt that philosophy because if I hear you talking reckless about me, you gonna have to see me. But what type of
That's
advice
nasty.
would you give to someone who was in a relationship and had things that they wanted to communicate, but they were absolutely terrified to? Now, keep this in mind. The person explains to you that that person that they're with gives them the safe space to do so. This is a in their head thing. Nothing has happened to them to make them feel like they don't have this availability. It's just that it's new to them. This is a foreign concept. It makes you feel completely vulnerable. You know, what advice would you give to someone in trying to approach whatever subject it is with their significant other, the person they're intimate with, um, living in that type of fear regarding opening up that way?
I think for me, what helps in a lot of situations when I is to write it down. I do things a lot of times where I may write a long text, a long email, and there's something about like it's like being on a cliff. It's like once you push it off the cliff, you can't get it back. So sometimes all I need, it would take a lot for me to sit down and have the conversation. it's not going to take as much for me to just hit send. Like, and then once I've hit send, it's gone and it's out there. And now I have to deal with whatever the ramifications, of that are going to be. And I would say for a person who may be dealing with someone who comes to you with something like that, out of nowhere, they hit you with the full page letter or something like that. Um, Respond in the same medium. Give them, if this is making them comfortable right now, if you can, not everybody's a great writer, but if you get a long text, respond back to it with a long text. Like, let them live in that safe space for a minute. You can ease them out of it eventually, and maybe the next time y'all talk on the phone, you bring up something related to the conversation that was had in text. But if they've invited you to this place where they're slightly more comfortable having this conversation, then meet them there first, and then see if you can take it someplace else. But sometimes just hitting the send button or something, is a smaller hurdle than actually having to like physically keep talking when I'm feeling anxious or something like that. So write it down, press that button, and do it at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and then go to sleep.
I love all this advice. That is, I mean, true to form, I do stuff like that. If something is really like bothering me, or is something that is, again, that makes me feel completely vulnerable, absolutely. I much rather text you or even leave you a voice message. Not one where I have to call you and let the phone ring, but just send you a message from voice recorder or whatever the hell it is, the app on your phone, and explain to you what I'm going through, what I'm thinking about, and all that good stuff. And it is, do it at 2 or 3 in the morning. We know that person's sleep, good and sleep. Then you go to sleep and just forget about it. And then when a text comes through, then you can panic again when they respond to you. But I think also too, what I would add, I would mimic your advice perfectly, but I would also say, for the person who is receiving that message, don't take it personally. Sometimes the person that you're dealing with knows you're a safe space, knows that you've provided that for them. And this again is still them. It's how they're processing it. It's one thing for someone that you're dating or you're in a new relationship with to tell you this is a safe space. But if you have 10 or 20 years of relationships under your belt and it's never been a safe space, those words don't fully resonate and get all the way through. The actions have to follow it. I have to see that as I creep through and give you this tad bit of information and this information here and here and there, that you continue to show me it really is a safe space until all those barriers are down, all those walls, all those defenses are down. And I know that what you say to me is fact and it is true. There's a learning curve, there's a learning experience, there's time that goes into settling into something like that. So don't take it personally. Don't feel like this person is somehow not doesn't have faith in you or doesn't believe in you. Sometimes it's them, or the situation that is just foreign, and they need time to really assess that.
That's why I talk a lot about getting help. You talked about therapists and things like that. I think for me, because I deal with some mental health issues, the fact that I know allows me to be able to express that to the woman that I'm with. So yes, she's made certain things a safe space, and she's worked very hard to make sure I feel cared and loved for, to mitigate insecurities and things like that. And they're still present. But because I can talk to her about what I know is going on in my mind, whether it be physiological or chemical imbalance, whatever it is, I can talk to her about it. And I can say, I hear, see, and acknowledge everything that you've done. This is not you. This is the space that I'm in. You know, this is how it usually works. Um, this is how long I'm usually there. I'll do this to let you know that it's happening. There's nothing, I don't need anything from you in those moments, but I'm just letting you know what's going on. Like, this is not you, but I can articulate that because I know what's going on with me. I can't imagine what this would be like if I didn't know, and she was putting this work in and trying to make, things comfortable for me. And I was still uncomfortable and couldn't explain to her why. Like, that to me would be a much more difficult situation. So sometimes we need to understand ourselves so we can explain ourselves to other people. Like, you don't understand yourself, you know, good luck with somebody else figuring you out.
Ain't that the truth? That is absolutely the truth. I think I think that the world would be a much better place, and that relationships would be more sacred to people if they took the time to actually communicate. And in their communication, we're completely honest. If you don't like something, say it. If you don't
Honest.
appreciate something, say it. And explain why. I think in the way, even the way I learn things. Like at work, I've been in situations before where somebody will say, from now on, we're doing this process this way. I will say, okay, can you elaborate and tell us why? Because if we've been doing a process for 10 years one way and you come in with your new way, but you're not telling us why, sometimes it doesn't stick. And you just get back into the process of doing your thing like you used to do for the last 10 years. But if you come to me and you say, okay, we're going to do this new process because this screen is going to no longer exist. So your way won't work anymore. Or we're going to do whatever the hell we're doing because we're doing it this way now. It sticks when you explain to a person, usually, why you want it that way, instead of just saying something random and throwing it out there. And also keep in mind too that nobody's perfect. Look, listen, like I said, the relationship I'm in now has been a huge learning curve. I've never dealt with anyone like this in my life. To have so many things that we don't have in common. Like we're different in so many ways, but the love is there. Like it is God, it's incredible how in awe I am of him in certain ways. And equal to that, he gets on my nerves because he is so different from me. But I think it brings me up out of my element. And I'm like, in a moment, I might get a little annoyed. He'll explain to me why he thinks that way or sees it that way. And then it makes perfect sense. Then I'm further annoyed because I'm no longer annoyed. Now I'm annoyed that I'm not annoyed. You feel me?
You like to reserve the right to hold on to your anger. You
But I'm
want to be
not
angry.
angry. I'm just like,
How dare you ease this I should be
sometimes I
annoyed.
just want it to
How
be
dare you
chill. I
take that
just
from
want
me?
to not have to learn something new and adjust to something else. And then other times I see it like an adventure. And I'm just like, okay, let's pull out the notebook and let's get this done too. It none of it is for the worst though. I think that sometimes we just get set in our ways and we are used to our lives being the way that they are. And somebody comes in and just kicks up all the dust. And as things start to clear, the air starts to clear, the houses have moved and the cars are different. Like they're just shaking everything up in your existence. Not for the worst. It's just that it's different. And if you are used to what you're used to, that can be a little off-putting. And it takes time to find your balance again. And, I don't know.
We've had this conversation in several different kinds of ways, but we know like if you to get something you never had, you got to do something you haven't done. Like, so there's always going to be these spaces where you have to get out of what you're comfortable with because what you're comfortable with has gotten you the results that you've gotten so far. You want a different result, you got to do something uncomfortable.
Like dating a nice
So
guy.
I'm gonna make a shirt to say nice guys eat booty too or something.
Oh,
I'm gonna
that's
do something like
disgusting.
that just to
That's
spell
mad wild.
to help dispel. I need to help dispel these rumors that somehow the nice guy wouldn't know what to do with a female or not. Anyway, I do want to say this is not going to help the situation. This is going to put gas on it. But this is I got to stop saying the. How do I
This
not?
is One Man and One Woman, the podcast.
And in the podcast, so we got to do things like this. When you were talking about the whole why thing, the only thing that kept ringing in my head was what my mother used to tell me, and she was like, "One of these days, I'm gonna tell you to do something, and you're gonna say why, and it's gonna hit you. I'm gonna say duck, you're gonna say why, and now you shot because you had no why before you could just do
Well,
what it
it's
is I
not even
asked you to
about
do."
not doing it. It's not about not doing the thing. I'm talking about it sticking. It's sticking to you. So if you come in and you tell me, like even with kids, back when we were younger, they used to say stuff like, do what I say just because I'm an adult, because I told you so. But if you were to go and you would tell a child, okay, do not touch this oven because it gets hot. And if it gets hot, it will burn you. It will burn your skin. It'll bubble up. It'll fall off. You'll be in a lot of pain. The child in that infinite curiosity at 2 or 3 years old will probably remember the torture that you told them they're going to endure more than you just saying that and then say because I said so. I'm not saying that if you come and tell me to do a new process, I won't do it right then and there. But if I don't do it often, the next time it comes up, I may completely forget that you told me to do it a different way because you didn't give me anything sustainable. I just really don't subscribe to that, lack of detail. It's not because I want to ask you why to be combative or because I want to question. It's like, just give me the information to make it stick with me. You know what I'm saying? If you tell me the why this is important, that tends to stick more than you just blanketly saying something when I got 20 other versions or 20 other things that I could do to get the same result. So, again, this is a prime example of you taking something I said completely the wrong way.
I didn't take it that you didn't hear like the
Oh
playfulness
no,
in my
I
voice when
I
I
have not
introduced
known
that
you to
type
have a
of
sense of humor, so I'm so sorry. I completely missed that.
I'm the only one. I'm the only one here that does. I don't understand how you missed that.
Yeah, I
But
just couldn't.
sometimes women, we need you to try. I need to be able to run in the room and say, "Call my mama and tell her Cheerios is out of business," and then walk out and just know that that's what you're gonna do. You don't need to know why.
I'm I can assure you that would never work for me. There's no way I'm calling anybody's mama and telling them something I know full fledged is not the truth, to pass some kind of ridiculous test. That is not effective communication either. What are you going through?
That's not a test. That's not a test. And I can explain to you exactly what I'm going to when things chill out. When I'm in a space where now we can have that conversation. What I
No.
need you to do right now is just follow my lead. Just run with me because you trust me and you love me.
Oh no. See, and I also don't do those kind of tests. So if you think you're gonna test me to find out if I love you or not, I am
It's
going to opt to fail said test every single time.
not a test. It's not a test. This is something I
So
like right now in the moment.
because I
Me
love you, I gotta lie to your mama.
and
What type of did you hear yourself?
why not do it? Why not do it and then find out why? Do you think the man that you're with that you talk about as glowingly as you do you think he'd ask you to do it for no reason?
I think that yeah, I think that he's absolutely that unbalanced that he would.
Y'all might need to make some decisions about the
Because
future.
he and
I'm
his
just saying.
mom, they're weird. So for me, it's like you got to put me in on the rules of the game. If you're putting me into this game of bizarro world that the two of you live in, you got to tell me the rules. It's up, down, and down is up. Like what are we doing? I don't understand why I would call a
That's what
random
I'm saying.
woman,
This
I mean
is
his mother, and be like Cheerios is out of business. What if she has a follow-up question? Or are you telling me just to hang up the phone? Now I gotta hang up on your mom. Like
Yep.
your example was absolutely just out of pocket, and I can't.
I tried to come up with the most random thing possible, but the point of the thing is there will be times where you know I need our communication may be one sided and may be very short, but it's a question of trust. Like not every time will I be able to give you all the information at the time that you feel like you need it. Sometimes I may not have the space to give you all of the information. This is all I can give you, but I need you to be with me right now and trust that at some point I'm gonna come back and make all of
Okay,
this
but
make
then
sense
that's
to
what
you.
you have to say. You have to say, call my mom. No, you have to say, call my mom and tell her that Cheerios is out of business. Trust me. We'll talk later. Or just 5 words. But to just say something blanket that's crazy, like to me, clinically insane, because it makes no sense to me at all, and expect me to know that I'm just supposed to trust you, that's different. Now, when it comes to serious stuff, like something jump off like mad, like serious, cool. I got you. I'm more in tune with that. But when you throw something off that just makes absolutely no sense to me, nah, fam, you have to figure that out. I mean, I don't know. I guess that
Right.
comes along with, lots of effective communication and getting to knowing the person that you with. Cause that it's the example that's making me not connect with that. I feel like
But it's weird to me that black people would say something like, if I'm someplace and I see some black people running, I'm just gonna start running and we'll figure
absolutely,
out
I
why we
agree with
was
that.
running when we get the same situation.
Yeah, but the blasphemy of saying that Cheerios went out of business, like, and then I say it, and then it actually happens, like, no more Honey Nut Cheerios, like that's what we're doing. I don't want to participate in that. I don't want to put that out there into the ether. What are we talking about?
Maybe it was a code word.
So now I'm participating in criminal activity and I don't know it. Like this is the problem for me.
Why are we assuming this criminal? Why are
What
we
we using
assuming this
code words
criminal?
for?
Anything. I don't know what me and my mama had, what plan we had hatched.
So
Why I gotta be
basically, what
criminal?
we've done during this episode is we have talked about what effective communication is, only to show what effective communication is not.
All right. Because what I feel is happening right now is that you are reaching outside of what's being said and coming up with assumptions and then wanting and having follow-up questions based on assumptions that were not included in the information that was given.
Because no information was given. You barked out an order like
Which is the
some kind
point.
of
So,
tyrant, and
yeah.
then talking about somebody's supposed to trust you and figure it out later. Like, yeah, I don't move like that. I don't do that. But I guess that will come with, like I said, if you've been with a person long enough and you got effective communication, have at it. But this message you just pulled, I don't know you like that.
Yeah, Godspeed to you, dude. I wish the best for him.
Well, I hope that someone listening to this conversation has a better understanding and explanation of the importance of communication, and that effective communication is really probably more than likely what you're looking for in a relationship, when everybody gives that blanket answer of communication being so important. But just how listen, your communication skills will either make or break the relationship. It really will. Make or break a friendship, a co-workership, any kind of ship that you're on. Lack of communication will always be detrimental. It leaves too much room for people to assume and just run wild with what their, estimations are. So yeah, focus on communicating and apply it to everybody you deal with in your life. That's important enough that you have to communicate with them. Whether it's the mailman, mail woman, whoever, try to be clear and concise in all things that you do. You agree?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
I
that's
agree.
first.
Yeah, I just don't want to argue with you no
Wow,
more tonight. So,
boy, this is going to be a long. How long we gonna be doing this? This is going to be long. Let's just try to make it
that's what
through
she said.
season 1 in one piece. I think I like the fact that we record in separate locations, because sometimes I feel like a fight might break out because I be wanting to swing on you. I ain't even gonna lie. Like, you bring the St. Louis out of me. Hey, it's too much.
I think we need to get back in touch with that therapist.
Oh my goodness, guys. Thank you for listening to us for another episode of One Man, One Woman, the podcast. I apologize for his behavior because I always try my best. And he just picks at me, and then I have to give him, you know what I'm saying, all the attitude he deserves. You got anything you want to say to the good people?
I don't deserve none of this. You can't see the video, but I'm blinking twice
You
because I
know
need
what?
help.
Please,
But
I'm
it's
not
okay.
studying you. How we end this? Oh yeah. Holla.